Okay, if you're a man disappointed with the way this world is going, let me offer you some advice. There's a myriad of different things we can do before we place the blame on our unhappiness to women. Let's get our housing figured out, make sure that we can afford to live where we're staying, and we have a healthy sense of transportation. Let's add on to that friends that allow us the opportunity to not only be vulnerable, authentic, but also can support us when we aren't the alpha male that we are trying so desperately to be because we didn't get the validation just being a young, loving, innocent boy when we were growing up in our household, whether that's because our parents didn't love us in that way or society refused to validate us in that way. And if you want to blame society, you can't blame women, blame patriarchy, which is created by men, for men, a small percentage of men, so everybody else could then hate each other instead of blaming the system. Because as long as you can exploit a broken system, you're not going to be complaining about it. You're only complaining when a broken system doesn't serve you. Okay? Let's keep getting into this. I don't know how often or how frequently we talk about healthcare in the men's health spaces. So, do you have a primary care doctor? Do you have a therapist? Do you need medications or psychiatric assessment for the trauma that you refuse to actually let out in a healthy way? No? Let's start calling those people up. Do we have a dentist? Do we have ortho? Do we have a massage therapist? Someone to give us that level of physical intimacy to where we don't have to exploit somebody else in their vulnerability. Even better than that, do we have a community that can reinforce and actively support what we are learning and growing with in therapy so we don't revert back to our old coping mechanisms or sabotage the new life that we're building for ourselves? Okay, we don't have that. Let's add all those in there. Mind you, I have not said anything about needing a girlfriend yet. We're going to keep going though. Do you have a job that is not only taking your time and underpaying you? Do you have a job that allows you to be invested while you're working in the job and also one you can trust to protect your human rights while you work there and to also pay you a living wage so you aren't complaining about women asking for things? And even better, you can just invest in the women that you love because you have money to not only invest in yourself, but your life. And with that comes an abundance of wealth to where you can share with the people that you love. And even if you don't find a woman to love, you can share that with your friends and you can share that with your family. And you can really, really, really understand how beautiful of an experience it is to be a provider rather than thinking that it's some kind of unholy responsibility to a bunch of selfish fucks who don't appreciate everything that men do for the world. Again, I could run back to patriarchy and tell you how patriarchy has single-handedly destroyed this whole entire planet. But again, maybe you're not ready for that. So we're going to keep going to see how men can take care of themselves while women are not putting up with their bullshit. You know, while you aren't sitting here chasing a girl in her DMs, talking to yourself probably, you could also pursue an education. You can educate yourself. You can develop your resume, you can add skills onto your resume, and even beyond that, you can have a hobby that allows you to emotionally regulate yourself without, again, exploiting somebody else's vulnerability and autonomy. It's almost like most men want women that they like to reinforce a version of themselves that they are not or they desire to be, and then they get comfortable in that instead of consistently remembering, this is who I have to be every day, regardless if the woman's next to me or not. And if I am not this person without women, I'm going to have to accept the fact that we need women as men to be the men we're supposed to be. And it's not vice versa. We don't become the men we're supposed to be and then access women. You just don't want to stay truthful and loyal and committed to the women that support you in the points where society does not validate you. That is something you need to address with yourself. But again, let's keep going because we can address men's issues completely without even including or needing to project trauma onto women. Because how about having third spaces that we can go to for low cost or free, and we can go to consistently where people can be themselves, connect with others, and actually integrate into a community. So their participation in the third spaces, in the activities, in the group events, can not only allow them to get the validation they need, but to also feel supported by people around them in a platonic sense So they can decide whether or not they are truly desperate for a relationship and intimacy, or they just need a community around them to see them. Okay? I think we should keep going though. Have you ever thought that when you aren't actively being validated by women or by the people that you desire as a man, that's your best opportunity to find out all the aspects of yourself that only you can see, that only you can know how to appreciate? And through that, you set up boundaries for yourself that allow you to see when other people are disrespecting you and your boundaries, and then you get to decide how you're going to respond to those people. But since you've been going to therapy, since you have a community, since you aren't codependent anymore, taking the advice that I've just given you over the past 5 minutes, you realized this is life. You can let people come and go as they please because you always have control of your reactions and your emotions. How beautiful is that? So if life wants to give you everything and take everything away, you still have you. So you can make it all back, do it all better, or you know what? Completely change your situation. Because that's the whole point of this life. To remember that you have the power and you don't need to gain power stripping it from other people. Being able to find the power within yourself is what's going to give you the light that lasts your whole entire life. And you can't sell consumerism to that. You can't sell domination kink to that. You can't sell, oh, you want to trade in, subjugating the lives of your entire community so you can have a little bit of power? So you can own a piece of property and get validated by this man? What if we don't care about that shit anymore? What if we only care about making sure that people aren't suppressed underneath the entire world in their individuality? What if we knew community was more important than individual rights? And then we allowed those communities to protect and give us individual rights, if so needed. I'm so excited for you guys to either get back in school, start reading books, start giving up on pop culture, to realize like, oh shit, we have power. And that power is where we put our attention, where we put our intention, and where we commit ourselves to growing. And after you realize how much responsibility you can take in that realm alone, you can be the one that changes your whole entire life, and you can be the one that changes your whole entire perspective and then shares the advice you've learned on the way with other people to stop them from falling into this patriarchal psychosis. If you stayed this far in the video, I thank you so much, because I guarantee you most men would be triggered in the first 30 seconds. But I'm glad, you know what? There's a new form of masculinity that the earth itself is calling upon right now, and I'm so excited to see it express itself. Hopefully, before we decide to self-destruct, to chase tradition that was made by the worst human beings in human fucking history.